Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the control room of Luna Station and watched the numbers on his screen change from yellow to red. The warning lights had been flashing for 6 hours now, and everyone knew what they meant. Death was coming to Earth, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. The neutron star collision had happened 1,200 light-years away, 3 days ago. The scientists had detected it immediately with their deep space telescopes. 2 massive dead stars had crashed into each other and created something terrible. A gamma-ray burst was racing toward Earth at the speed of light. When it arrived in 72 hours, it would cook every living thing on the planet. Commander Lisa Hayes walked up to Jake and handed him a cup of coffee. Her hands were shaking just a little, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "The evacuation ships are loading. Now, sir, we can save about 3 million people if we work fast." Jake took the coffee and stared out the window at Earth. The blue planet looked so peaceful from here. People down there were going about their normal lives. Most of them did not even know yet. The governments were still deciding how to tell 8 billion people that they had 3 days to live. 3 million out of 8 billion, Jake said quietly. That means we lose 7,997,000,000 people. Lisa nodded. The math is not good, sir. But at least some will survive. Humanity will continue. Jake thought about his wife and daughter down on Earth. They were on the priority evacuation list because of his rank, but that did not make him feel better. What about all the other wives and daughters who would not make it off the planet Dot in the observation deck of the alien ship Serenity's Edge? Nexari observer Veltar watched the human space station through his sensors. The Nexari had been studying humans for 47 years. They found humans interesting because they were so emotional compared to other species. Humans cried when they were sad and laughed when they were happy. They made art about their feelings and wrote songs about love and loss. Veltar had seen many species face extinction over his long career. The pattern was always the same. First came denial, then anger, then bargaining, then sadness, and finally acceptance. Most species reached acceptance quickly. They understood that the universe was bigger than they were, and that sometimes bad. Things happened that could not be stopped. The Zephyrians had been beautiful to watch when their sun started to die. They had gathered in their crystal cities and sang harmony songs that could be heard across their solar system. When the end came, they had dissolved themselves into their home ocean and become one with their world. The Corvani were even more graceful. When the plague came to their homeworld, they had simply stopped fighting it. They built monuments to their achievements and recorded their history for future species to find. Then they laid down in their beds and waited peacefully for death. Humans would probably do something similar, Veltar thought. They were known for their poetry and philosophy. They would spend their last days creating beautiful farewell messages and thinking deep thoughts about the meaning of life. On the bridge of the deep space vessel New Horizon, Captain Ben Parker read the emergency message that had just come through on the quantum communicator. His ship was 3 light-years away from Earth on a mapping mission. They had been gone for 8 months and were supposed to return home in 2 weeks. Now there would be no home to return to. His communications officer, Kate Williams, looked up from her station with tears in her eyes. "Captain, we are getting messages from other deep spaceships. There are 47 human vessels beyond the danger zone. That means 2,016 people will survive." Ben looked around the bridge at his crew. Dr. Amy Collins, the ship's doctor, was staring at her medical scanner like she could not believe what she was reading. Engineer Pete Johnson was gripping his toolkit so hard his knuckles were white. These people had families on Earth too. "How long until the gamma rays reach Earth?" Ben asked. 68 hours and 32 minutes, Kate replied. Ben made a decision that would change everything. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Sir, Pete said carefully, we cannot get there in time to help with evacuations. And if we get too close when the gamma rays hit, we will die too. I know, Ben said, but we are going home anyway. On Earth, the news had finally been released to the public. President Helen Rodriguez had addressed the world from the White House. She had explained about the neutron star collision and the gamma ray burst in simple terms that everyone could understand. She had talked about the evacuation ships and how they were doing everything possible to save as many people as they could, but most people would not be saved. Most people would die when the sky caught fire in 3 days. The world's reaction surprised everyone. Instead of panic, there was mostly silence. People went to their churches and temples and mosques. Families gathered together in their homes. Children played quietly in parks while their parents held hands and watched the sunset in New York City. The streets were full, but no one was running or screaming. People walked slowly and talked in soft voices. Some were crying, but they were not the desperate tears of panic. They were the sad tears of people saying goodbye. The alien observers watched all of this with approval. Humans were behaving exactly as predicted. They were moving into the acceptance phase faster than most species. This showed wisdom and maturity. Dr. Maya Patel sat in her laboratory at the Mumbai Institute of Technology and stared at equations on her whiteboard. She was a quantum physicist who specialized in gravitational fields. Her life's work was about bending space and time using massive amounts of energy for the past 6 hours. She had been thinking about the gamma ray burst. Everyone said it could not be stopped. Everyone said there was no defense against that much energy moving at the speed of light. Everyone said the only choice was to run or die. But Maya was thinking about other choices. She picked up her phone and called her colleague Dr. Alex Kim at Stanford University. Alex, I need you to run some calculations for me. What would happen if we could create a gravitational lens big enough to bend a gamma ray burst? Alex was quiet for a long moment. Maya, the energy requirements would be impossible. You would need the power output of a star. What if we had the power output of a whole planet? Maya asked. Lieutenant Rick Turner stood in the pilot-ready room at Edwards Air Force Base and looked at his evacuation assignment. He was supposed to fly one of the last shuttles off Earth tomorrow morning. The shuttle could carry 200 people to the orbital stations, where larger ships would take them to safety. Rick was 24 years old and had been flying military aircraft since he was 18. He was good at his job, and he followed orders. But as he stared at the list of names of people he was supposed to save, he found himself thinking about all the names that were not on the list. His mother was on the list because her son was a pilot. His girlfriend Sarah was on the list because she worked for the space program. But Sarah's little brother was not on the list. His neighbor Mr. Frank, who had taught Rick how to fix cars, was not on the list. The teacher who had inspired him to become a pilot was not on the list. Rick folded up the paper and put it in his pocket. Then he walked out of the ready room and found his commanding officer, Colonel Janet Morris. Colonel, I need to speak with you about my flight assignment. What? About it, Turner. I am not going. The colonel stared at him. What do you mean you are not going? I mean I am staying here. Someone else can fly that shuttle. I have a different job to do. Rick did not know what that job was yet, but he knew he was not running away while his world died. There had to be something else they could try. There had to be another choice besides running or dying. The alien observers continued to monitor human communications and behavior. Everything was proceeding normally. The humans were sad, but they were accepting their fate with dignity. Some were making art and music about their final days. Others were spending time with their loved ones. A few were even helping with the evacuation efforts. This was exactly what the Galactic Council expected from an intelligent species facing extinction. Humans were proving themselves to be mature and civilized in their final hours. What the aliens did not notice were the small changes beginning to happen. Scientists making phone calls to other scientists. Military officers refusing evacuation orders. Engineers staring at blueprints that had never been built. Deep spaceships changing course toward Earth instead of away from it. The seeds of something unprecedented were being planted. But the observers were looking for grief and acceptance. So that was all they saw. Jake Morrison stood at his window on Luna Station and watched another evacuation ship launch toward the outer colonies. Each ship carried a few thousand people to safety. It was better than nothing, but it felt like trying to empty an ocean with a teaspoon. His personal communicator buzzed. It was a message from his daughter Jenny, who was still on Earth. Dad, I love you. Don't worry about us. We are going to be okay. Jake smiled sadly. His daughter was trying to comfort him, even though she was the one in danger. That was very human. Always thinking about others, even when facing death. But as Jake read the message again, he noticed something odd. Jenny had said they were going to be okay. 18 hours had passed since the world learned about the gamma ray burst. Lieutenant Rick Turner walked through the corridors of Edwards Air Force Base with purpose. He had made his decision, and now he needed to find others who felt the same way. He found them in the engineering bay, where Master Sergeant Carlos Vega was supposed to be preparing evacuation equipment. Instead, Carlos was bent over a computer terminal with 3 other engineers, looking at something that definitely was not evacuation plans. "What are you working on, Sergeant?" Rick asked. Carlos looked up and grinned. "Well, Lieutenant, we were supposed to be loading emergency supplies on the shuttles. But we got to thinking, what if instead of running away, we tried to do something about this mess?" Rick moved closer to see the computer screen. It showed technical drawings of something that looked like a massive satellite dish, but the mathematics involved were far beyond anything Rick had seen before. "This is theoretical physics stuff," said Staff Sergeant Linda Cruz, one of the engineers. "Dr. Patel from Mumbai sent the plans to every major university and military installation on Earth about 4 hours ago. She thinks we can build something to fight back." Rick stared at the plans. Fight back against a gamma-ray burst. Is that even possible? Probably not, Carlos admitted. But probably not is better than definitely not. And definitely not is what we get if we just sit here and wait to die. Across the base, Colonel Janet Morris was having a very strange conversation with her superiors. General Robert Hayes had called an emergency meeting of all remaining military commanders. What he was proposing sounded like science fiction. Dr. Patel's calculations show that if we can generate enough gravitational distortion, we might be able to bend the gamma rays around Earth, the general explained. It would require every power plant on the planet working together and some new technology that has never been tested. "Sir," said Colonel Morris, "with respect, this sounds impossible." "Everything about our situation is impossible, Janet. Impossible that 2 neutron stars would collide, just right to send gamma rays directly at Earth. Impossible that we would detect it with enough time to try anything. Impossible that we have the technology to even attempt what Dr. Patel is suggesting." The general paused and looked around the room at his officers. "But here we are, and Dr. Patel is not the only one with ideas. We are getting similar proposals from scientists all over the world. The question is not whether it is impossible. The question is whether we try the impossible or just give up." Colonel Morris thought about Lieutenant Turner's refusal to evacuate. Maybe he had the right idea. After all, in Mumbai, Dr. Maya Patel had not slept in 20 hours. Her laboratory was now filled with scientists who had flown in from around the world. Dr. Alex Kim had arrived from Stanford with 2 other physicists. Dr. Rachel Green from MIT was there with her entire quantum mechanics team. Dr. Sam Rodriguez from the European Space Agency had brought blueprints for experimental gravity generators. The math works, Rachel said, as she finished checking Maya's calculations for the third time. If we can create enough gravitational distortion at precisely the right moment, we can bend space-time enough to deflect the gamma rays. The energy requirements are still enormous, Alex pointed out. We would need to channel the entire electrical output of human civilization into the gravity generators at the exact same moment. Maya nodded, which means turning off everything else. No lights, no computers, no life support systems except for the generators. Every power plant on Earth would have to work together with perfect timing. Sam pulled up a map of the world on his tablet. We would need to build the generators at specific points around the globe to create the right gravitational field pattern. That means coordinating construction projects on 6 continents with 54 hours remaining. It cannot be done, said Dr. Kim quietly. Even if the physics work, the logistics are impossible. We would need millions of people working together. With perfect coordination, Maya stood up and looked out the window at the streets of Mumbai. Even though it was past midnight, the streets were full of people. But they were not panicking or rioting. They were talking in small groups, holding hands, sharing food. Some were praying. Others were singing softly. Alex, what would you do if your daughter was down there? Maya asked. I would try anything, Alex replied immediately. Even if it was impossible. Especially if it was impossible. Maya turned back to the group. Then we try the impossible. I am sending our plans to every government, every university, every military base, and every power company on Earth. If enough people want to try, maybe we can make it work. Captain Ben Parker stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched. His crew make preparations for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. They were still 2 days away from Earth at maximum speed. By the time they arrived, the gamma rays would have already hit. But Dr. Amy Collins had been working on calculations of her own. Captain, our fusion reactor puts out enough energy to create a small gravitational anomaly if we overload it in exactly the right way. A small gravitational anomaly that would destroy our ship and kill everyone on board, pointed out Engineer Pete Johnson. Yes, Amy agreed. But if we coordinate with other ships and time the overloads precisely, we might be able to create a larger effect. Not enough to save Earth by ourselves, but maybe enough to help whatever they are trying to do down there. Kate Williams looked up from her communication station. Captain, we are getting messages from 46 other deep spaceships. They all received Dr. Patel's plans. They are all asking the same question we are asking. Which is, Ben asked, do we run for safety, or do we come home and try to help? Ben looked around at his crew. These people had families on Earth. They had every reason to flee to the outer colonies and live. But he could see the answer in their faces before anyone spoke. All ships are voting to return to Earth, Kate reported. 47 vessels total. If we all sacrifice our reactors at the right moment, Dr. Collins thinks we can create enough gravitational distortion to amplify whatever Earth is doing. So we die either way, Pete said. But this way we die trying to save our world instead of running away from it. Ben nodded. Set course for Earth. Send a message to Luna Station. Tell them the Deep Space Fleet is coming home. The alien observers were becoming confused by human behavior. Nexari observer Veltar studied the communication. Intercepts with growing puzzlement. According to his analysis, humans should have entered the final acceptance phase by now. Instead, they seem to be moving backward through the grief process into anger and bargaining. They are attempting to organize some kind of response to the gamma ray burst. Veltar reported to his superiors on the Galactic Council. The energy Signatures we are detecting from Earth suggest massive construction projects beginning on all continents. Corvani Ambassador Thiklos responded from his ancient vessel. The Corvani had been observing the galaxy for over 1,000,000 years. They had seen every possible response to extinction. What kind of response, observer? Are they building monuments or recording their history? Neither, Ambassador. They appear to be building weapons. There was a long pause in the communication. Channel. Weapons, Theklos asked finally. Weapons to fight what? The gamma-ray burst is a natural phenomenon. It cannot be fought with weapons. I do not understand their logic either, Ambassador, but the energy readings are unmistakable. They are constructing devices designed to generate massive gravitational fields. Another pause. That is impossible. A species at their technological level cannot generate gravitational fields powerful enough to affect stellar phenomena. Nevertheless, they appear to be trying. On Earth, something unprecedented was happening. Within 6 hours of Dr. Patel releasing her plans, construction had begun at 54 locations around the world. Factory workers in Detroit had stopped making cars and started making gravity generator components. Miners in Australia were digging foundation holes for massive installations. Power company technicians in Japan were rewiring their entire electrical grid. The most amazing part was not the speed of construction. The most amazing part was that no government had ordered any of it. People had simply seen the plans, understood what needed to be done, and started doing it. President Helen Rodriguez called an emergency cabinet meeting as reports came in from around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not sure what is happening out there, but it appears our citizens have decided to try something that our best scientists say is impossible. Secretary of Defense Paul Mitchell looked at satellite images of construction sites that had appeared overnight. Madam President, we have millions of people working on projects that did not exist yesterday. They are using materials from military stockpiles, civilian factories, and private companies. No one asked permission. They just started building. Are we going to stop them? Asked the President. With what authority? Replied Secretary Mitchell. They are not breaking any laws. They are not hurting anyone. They are just trying to save the world with 40 hours left on the clock. The President looked out the window at Washington, D.C. Even from the White House, she could see lights and construction equipment working through the night at the new gravity generator site being built on the National Mall. Then I guess we better help them. 50 hours remained until the gamma rays reached Earth. The impossible was becoming a reality as billions of humans worked together on the largest construction project in history. In Tokyo, electrical engineer Kenji Nakamura stood in the main control room of the city power grid and watched numbers that should not exist. Every power plant in Japan was pushing beyond safe limits. Nuclear reactors were running at 120% capacity. Hydroelectric dams were channeling every drop of water through their turbines. Solar panels that normally shut down at night were being supplemented by massive spotlights to keep them producing power in the darkness. This will destroy our entire electrical system, his assistant Yuki Tanaka warned as she monitored the strain gauges. The cables are not designed to carry this much current. Kenji nodded grimly. If we fail, it will not matter if our power grid survives. If we succeed, we can rebuild it. Either way, we push everything to maximum. The same scene was happening in power control centers around the world. In New York, technician Frank Lopez watched as electricity flowed through cables that were glowing red-hot from the overload. In London, engineer Sophie Wright coordinated with wind farms that were spinning their turbines so fast the blades were starting to crack. In São Paulo, Carlos Mendez directed power from a hydroelectric plant. It was vibrating so violently it sounded like thunder. Everyone knew the power systems would not survive this. But everyone also knew that was not the point dot at the gravity generator construction site in Mumbai. Dr. Maya Patel watched 10,000 people work with coordination that should have been impossible. Welders from 3 different countries were installing components built by factories that had never made anything like this before. Computer programmers who had learned the control software overnight were testing systems that existed only in theory. "Dr. Patel," called out construction foreman Bill Anderson as he jogged up to her, "we have a problem with the foundation. The gravitational forces this thing will generate are stronger than we calculated. The concrete will not hold." Maya felt her heart sink. After all this work, after everything people had sacrificed, they might fail because of concrete. How long would it take to dig new foundations? 18 hours if we work non-stop. But we only have 12 hours before the activation sequence begins. Maya stared at the massive concrete foundations that thousands of workers had poured just yesterday. All that work would have to be torn up and done again. There was not enough time. "Dr. Patel," said a voice behind her. She turned to see an elderly man in work clothes. "My name is George Fletcher. I have been building foundations. For 40 years, I heard what you said about the concrete. I am sorry, Mr. Fletcher, but the numbers do not lie. We need stronger foundations than what we have." George smiled. "The numbers are right about the concrete. But you are thinking like an engineer instead of like a construction worker. We do not need to dig new foundations. We need to make the old foundations stronger. How? Steel. Lots and lots of steel. We drive steel pillars down through the concrete into the bedrock. Then we weld them to the generator frame. The concrete holds everything in place, and the steel carries the load." Maya did the calculations in her head. It could work. It would. Use enormous amounts of steel and require perfect welding, but it could work. "How much steel would we need?" she asked. "About 6,000 tons. And we would need it here in the next 8 hours. Maya pulled out her phone and called the site coordinator. "This is Dr. Patel. I need 6,000 tons of steel delivered to the Mumbai site in 8 hours. "Yes, I know that sounds impossible." "Do it anyway." 4 hours later, trucks began arriving with steel beams from construction sites all over India. Workers had abandoned half-built skyscrapers and bridge projects to donate their materials to the gravity generator. The steel came with welders and crane operators and engineers who worked through the night to make George Fletcher's impossible plan work. On Luna Station, Admiral Jake Morrison watched the most amazing display of human organization he had ever witnessed. Every major construction project on Earth had been abandoned. People had walked away from building houses and roads and factories to work on gravity generators instead. It was as if the entire species had decided to cooperate on one massive project. "Admiral," said Commander Lisa Hayes, "we are getting reports from all 54 generator sites. Construction is proceeding faster than projected. The coordination between sites is perfect, even though there is no central command structure." Jake nodded as he studied the progress reports. "How is that possible? We have millions of people working on the same project across 6 continents without anyone giving orders." "I think they are giving orders to themselves, sir. Everyone knows what needs to be done, and they are just doing it." The quantum communication system chimed with an incoming message. It was from Captain Ben Parker aboard the New Horizon. "Admiral Morrison, the Deep Space Fleet has reached the outer system. We are in position to begin reactor overloads on your signal." Jake looked at the tactical display showing 47 small dots representing human ships that had come home to die for their world. "Captain Parker, are your crews ready for this?" "As ready as anyone can be for sacrificing themselves, sir. Dr. Collins has calculated the exact timing for each reactor overload. If we do this right, our gravitational pulses will amplify the effect." of the planetary generators. And if you do it wrong, we die a few seconds early, sir. Either way, we die trying. Jake felt a lump in his throat. These people were volunteering to destroy themselves on the chance that it might help save Earth. Understood, Captain. Stand by for final coordination signal. The alien observers were no longer just confused. They were beginning to feel something they had never experienced while watching a species face extinction. They were feeling worried. Nexari observer Veltar transmitted his latest report to the Galactic Council with growing urgency. The humans have completed construction of 54 massive gravitational field generators in less than 48 hours. The power requirements for their plan would drain their entire planetary energy grid. That is impossible, replied Council. Member Zephyrin. No species can coordinate that level of construction without decades of planning. Nevertheless, they have done it. And the energy readings we are detecting suggest their plan might actually work. Corvani Ambassador Theklos joined the communication channel. His ancient voice carried a tone that the other aliens had never heard before. Uncertainty. Observer Veltar, if the humans succeed in deflecting the gamma-ray burst, what will happen to the energy? It will be redirected along its original path, Ambassador, back toward the neutron star collision that created it. And if their gravitational lensing effect is as powerful as their energy output suggests. Veltar ran the calculations and felt something like fear. The redirected gamma rays would be focused and amplified. The neutron star that created the burst would be struck by its own energy and many times the original intensity. What would that do to a neutron star? We do not know, Ambassador. No one has ever attacked a neutron star with weaponized gamma rays before. There was a long silence on the communication channel as the implications sank in. The humans were not just trying to save themselves. They were trying to destroy the source of their problem. On Earth, the final preparations were underway. At each gravity generator site, teams of scientists and engineers made last-minute adjustments to equipment that had been built faster than anyone thought possible. The generators themselves looked like massive metal flowers with petals made of exotic materials that bent space around them. Dr. Rachel Green stood at the generator site in Massachusetts and watched her team run final systems checks. Power coupling at 98%. Gravitational field projectors aligned. Timing synchronization locked with all other sites. Her assistant, Dr. Tony Williams, looked up from his instrument panel. Dr. Green, the power requirements for this are going to burn out every electrical cable in the state. Our entire power grid will be destroyed. I know, Tony, but if we succeed, we will have time to rebuild the power grid. If we fail, we will not need one. Similar conversations were happening at all 54 sites. Everyone knew the cost of what they were attempting. Every power plant on Earth would be damaged or destroyed. Most of the electrical grid would have to be rebuilt from scratch. The economic damage would take decades to repair, but no one suggested stopping. President Helen Rodriguez stood in the White House Situation Room surrounded by monitors showing the status of gravity generators around the world. In 12 hours, they would either save their planet or destroy their civilization trying. Madam President, said her science advisor, Dr. Carol Davis, we have confirmation from all sites. Every generator is ready for activation. Every power plant is prepared for maximum output. The Deep Space Fleet is in position. What are our chances of success? The President asked. Honestly, we do not know. Dr. Patel's calculations show it should work in theory. But we are attempting something that has never been tried before using technology that was invented 3 days ago. The President looked out the window at the gravity generator that had been built on the National Mall. Thousands of people were still working around it, making final adjustments and preparations. 24 hours remained until the gamma-ray burst reached Earth. The sky had begun to change in ways that made the alien observers question everything they thought they knew about physics. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the control center at Mumbai and watched readouts that showed impossible numbers. The 54 gravity generators around the world were not just working. They were working better than her calculations had predicted. Space itself was bending around Earth in patterns that should not have been possible with their technology. Dr. Patel called her assistant Dr. Raj Kumar from his monitoring station. The gravitational field strength is reading 30% higher than our projections. The generators are somehow amplifying each other's effects. Maya studied the numbers with growing amazement. That should not be happening. Each generator should work independently. There is no mechanism for them to boost each other's power. Dr. Alex Kim, who had been coordinating between all the sites, looked up from his quantum communicator with excitement in his voice. Maya, I think I know what is happening. The generators are not just bending space around themselves. They are creating a resonance effect across the entire planet. Earth itself has become one giant gravitational lens. The implications hit Maya like lightning. They had not just built 54 separate machines. They had accidentally turned their entire planet into a weapon that could focus and redirect energy on a scale they had never imagined. On Luna Station, Admiral Jake Morrison watched his instruments detect gravitational anomalies that were off. The scale. Space around Earth was warping so dramatically that it was affecting the orbit of the moon. Tidal forces that should have been gentle were now strong enough to cause earthquakes. Admiral, reported Commander Lessa Hayes with awe in her voice, the gravitational lensing effect is so powerful that we can actually see it. Look at the main view screen. Jake turned to look at Earth and gasped. The planet was surrounded by a visible distortion field that made the stars behind it shimmer and dance. Space itself was rippling around their world like water around a stone dropped in a pond. How is that possible? Jake asked. I do not think it is just the machines, sir. I think it is the people operating them. 8 billion humans all focused on the same goal at the same moment. Maybe human willpower has its own gravitational effect when it gets concentrated enough. Captain Ben Parker stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and prepared his crew for what everyone knew would be their final mission. In 6 hours, they would overload their fusion reactor, along with 46 other deep space ships. The combined gravitational pulses would either save Earth or die trying. All ships report ready for reactor overload, announced Kate Williams from the communication station. The timing sequence has been uploaded to all vessels. When Admiral Morrison gives the signal, we will have 17 seconds to reach critical overload. Dr. Amy Collins looked up from her calculations with a strange expression. Captain, I have been running new numbers based on the gravitational readings from Earth. The lensing effect is so powerful now that our reactor overloads might not be necessary. What do you mean? Ben asked. I mean, Earth has become a gravitational focusing system more powerful than anything we imagined. Our little ships were supposed to provide extra amplification. But what they have built down there might be strong enough to redirect a gamma ray burst all by itself. Pete Johnson frowned at his engineering console. So we came home to die for nothing? No, said Ben firmly. We came home to die for our world. If our deaths can help even a little bit, then that is what we do. If our deaths are not needed, then we get to live and rebuild. Either way, we came home. The alien observers were no longer just watching. They were fleeing. Nexari observer Veltar had moved his ship to what he hoped was a safe distance from Earth, as gravitational readings climbed beyond anything in his instruments. Measurement range. Council members, I strongly recommend that all observation vessels withdraw to minimum safe distance. The humans have created a gravitational anomaly that could affect ships within several light minutes of their planet. How is that possible? demanded Council Member Zephron. Their technology level should not allow for gravitational manipulation on that scale. Their technology level has not changed, Veltar replied. But their coordination has reached levels we have never observed before. 8 billion individuals working as a single organism with perfect unity of purpose. Corvani Ambassador Theklos spoke from his ancient vessel with something like wonder in his million-year-old voice. In all our observations of galactic civilizations, we have never seen an entire species achieve that level of collective focus. Most civilizations fragment under pressure. These humans appear to be fusing together. What does that mean for the gamma-ray burst? It means, said Theklos slowly, that we are about to witness something that has never happened before in the history of the galaxy. On Earth, the final countdown had begun. At gravity generator sites around the world, teams of humans made last-minute adjustments to machines that were already working beyond their design specifications. The air around each generator shimmered with gravitational distortions that made reality itself look fluid dot in Tokyo. Engineer Kenji Nakamura watched his power grid readouts with amazement and terror. All power plants are operating at 150% capacity. The electrical cables are so hot they are glowing, but the power flow is stable. His assistant Yuki looked at him with disbelief. The cables should have melted hours ago. This level of power should have destroyed our entire grid. Maybe, Kenji said quietly, human determination can change the laws of physics when enough people believe it at the same time. At the Massachusetts site, Dr. Rachel Green was seeing similar impossible results. Tony, our generator is producing gravitational fields 3 times stronger than our calculations predicted. The power coupling should have burned out, but it is somehow handling the load. Dr. Tony Williams stared at readings that made no sense. It is like the machines know what we need them to do, and they are doing it even if it should be impossible. President Helen Rodriguez stood in the White House Situation Room and watched status reports from around the world. Every generator site was reporting the same thing. The machines were working better than they should. The power grids were handling more electricity than they were designed for. People were coordinating with precision that defied explanation. Madam President, said her science advisor Dr. Carol Davis, we are 30 minutes from activation. All sites report ready. The Deep Space Fleet is in position. But I have to tell you, what we are seeing is not just engineering anymore. This is something else. What do you mean? I mean human civilization has become something new in the last 72 hours. We are not just individuals cooperating anymore. We have become a single entity with a single will. And that will is focused on survival with an intensity that is actually changing the fabric of space around our planet. 6 hours before the gamma rays were scheduled to arrive, something unprecedented happened. The gravity generators achieved stable resonance with each other across the entire planet. 54 separate machines became one massive planetary defense system operating with perfect coordination. Dr. Maya Patel watched her control screens show the formation of what could only be described as a gravitational lens the size of Earth. Alex, are you seeing this? We have created a focusing system powerful enough to redirect stellar-level energies. I see it, Maya, and I am also seeing something else. The gamma-ray burst is visible on our deep space sensors now. It will be here in 6 hours. Maya looked at the approaching wave of death on her display screen. The gamma rays were invisible to human eyes, but their sensors showed them as a wall of energy racing toward Earth at the speed of light. In 6 hours, they would find out if human willpower was stronger than the forces that could sterilize planets. All sites report ready for final activation sequence, announced the global coordinator. Power plants are at maximum output. Deep Space Fleet is standing by. Activation in 5 hours and 57 minutes. Around the world, 8 billion humans stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. In New York, construction workers paused in their repairs to damaged power lines. In Mumbai, families gathered on rooftops to watch the generators that might save them. In Tokyo, children held hands with their parents and pointed at the shimmering distortions in the air. For the first time in human history, every person on the planet was thinking about the same thing at the same moment, not just hoping or praying, but actively willing their species to survive through pure determination. The alien observers detected something they had never seen before. The gravitational field around Earth was not just bending space. It was pulsing in rhythm with human heartbeats. 8 billion hearts beating together. 8 billion minds focused on the same goal. 8 billion wills demanding that the universe change its mind about killing them. "This is not possible," transmitted Council Member Zephron as his instruments detected the synchronized pulse. "Biological entities cannot generate gravitational fields through mental effort alone." "Maybe not individually," replied Ambassador Theklos. The gamma-ray burst struck Earth's gravitational field at exactly 14:32 Universal Time on a Tuesday that would be remembered forever. Dr. Maya Patel stood in her control center in Mumbai and watched instruments detect the arrival of energies that could crack moons. The wall of gamma radiation hit Earth's artificial gravitational lens, and something beautiful and terrible happened. "Field contact," announced Dr. Raj Kumar as his sensors went wild. "The gamma rays are entering our gravitational field now." Maya watched her displays show the impossible becoming reality. The deadly radiation was not just being deflected around Earth. It was being focused, compressed, and concentrated into a beam of energy more powerful than anything humanity had ever created. "The lens is working," she whispered in amazement. "We are not just redirecting the gamma rays, we are amplifying them." Around the world, 54 gravity generators hummed with power that made the air itself sing. The gravitational field they created was so strong that space and time bent around Earth like water around a stone. The planet had become a massive lens focusing stellar energies with precision that defied belief. On Luna Station, Admiral Jake Morrison watched his instruments detect gravitational forces that rewrote the textbooks of physics. "Commander Hayes, are you seeing this? The gravitational lensing effect is concentrating the gamma-ray burst into a coherent beam." Lisa stared at her readouts with wonder. "Sir, the focused beam is being directed back along the original path of the gamma rays. We are sending the energy back where it came from. Back toward the neutron star collision." "Yes, sir." "But amplified by a factor of over 1,000. We are not just defending ourselves. We are counterattacking." Captain Ben Parker watched from the bridge of the New Horizon as Earth disappeared inside a bubble of bent space and focused radiation. The planet was still there, but it was surrounded by energies that made the local space look like a funhouse mirror. "Captain," reported Kate Williams in awe, "the Deep Space Fleet reactor overloads were not needed. The planetary gravitational lens is so powerful that our little ships would not have made any difference." Dr. Amy Collins looked up from her sensor readings with excitement. The humans did not just build a defense system. They built a weapon capable of destroying neutron stars. Pete Johnson shook his head in disbelief. 3 days ago, we were facing extinction. Now we are watching our species weaponize stellar physics. The focused gamma-ray beam raced back toward its source at the speed of light. 1,200 light-years away, the neutron star that had created the original burst was about to receive a very unpleasant surprise. The alien observers fled to what they hoped were safe distances as Earth became the focal point of energies that could reshape solar systems. Nexari observer Veltar transmitted emergency reports to the Galactic Council as his instruments detected power levels beyond measurement. The humans have successfully redirected the gamma-ray burst, he reported, with something like fear in his voice. But they have done more than redirect it. They have focused and amplified it into a coherent beam of energy powerful enough to destroy stellar objects. Council member Zephron responded from his distant observation post. That is impossible. No planetary civilization has ever generated that level of concentrated energy. Nevertheless, they have done it. And the beam is traveling back toward the neutron star collision point at light speed. Corvani Ambassador Theklos spoke with the weight of 1,000,000 years of observation. In all our recorded history, we have never seen a species respond to natural extinction by weaponizing the method of their destruction. The humans have not just survived their gamma-ray burst. They have turned it into ammunition. For 17 minutes, Earth maintained the gravitational lens that focused stellar energies to local space. A planet glowed with auroras that could be seen from neighboring star systems. Reality itself rippled around the world as 8 billion humans held their breath and willed their species to survive. Dr. Maya Patel watched her instruments track the focused beam as it raced away from Earth toward its distant target. The beam is maintaining coherence over interstellar distances. In 1,200 years, when the light reaches us, we will see what happens when a neutron star gets hit, its own gamma rays amplified 1,000 times. Will it destroy the neutron star? Asked Dr. Alex Kim. We do not know. No one has ever attacked a neutron star before. But if our calculations are correct, the focused energy will strike with enough force to disrupt the stellar magnetic field. The neutron star might simply stop existing. Around the world, the gravity generators began to power down as the gamma-ray burst past Earth and continued on its redirected path. The crisis was over. 8 billion humans had faced extinction and responded by building a weapon capable of killing the thing that tried to kill them. In Washington, D.C., President Helen Rodriguez addressed the world from the Oval Office with Earth's first victory over stellar physics as her backdrop. My fellow humans, 72 hours ago, we faced the end of our species. Today, we have not just survived that threat. We have eliminated it. She paused and looked directly into the camera. The gamma-ray burst that was sent to destroy us is now traveling back to destroy the neutron star that created it. We have taught the universe that humans do not die quietly. We fight back. The rebuilding began immediately. Every power grid on Earth had been damaged or destroyed by the massive energy requirements of the gravitational lens. Entire electrical systems had to be rebuilt from scratch. The economic cost would take decades to recover from, but no one complained. They had traded their power grid for their survival and considered it an excellent bargain. 6 months later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session to discuss the implications of what humans had done. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a species had not just survived extinction, but had turned their survival into an act of cosmic vengeance. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that do not match their technological level, reported Ixari observer Veltar. They should not have been able to generate gravitational fields powerful enough to focus stellar energies. How did they do it then? Asked Council member Zephron, Corvani ambassador. Theklos provided the answer that would reshape galactic politics forever. They did it by becoming something we have never seen before. 8 billion individuals functioning as a single organism with perfect unity of purpose. They did not just build machines to focus gamma rays. They became a living gravitational lens, powered by collective will. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Are you suggesting that human consciousness can directly affect gravitational fields? I am suggesting that 8 billion human minds thinking the same thought at the same moment and apparently make the impossible happen through sheer determination. They did not just engineer their survival. They willed it into existence. Captain Ben Parker returned to Earth 6 months later to find a world transformed. The gravity generators had been converted into a planetary defense network that could protect Earth from any stellar threat. More importantly, the crisis had changed humanity itself. Dr. Maya Patel, now Director of Gravitational Engineering for the United Earth Council, greeted him at the rebuilt Mumbai spaceport. "Captain Parker, welcome home. We have been tracking the progress of our redirected gamma-ray beam. It should reach the neutron star collision point in about 1,200 years. Will we be able to observe the impact?" "Oh, yes. Every telescope in human space will be watching. And we are already building bigger gravity generators, just in case we need to send another message to the universe about how humans respond to threats." Ben smiled as he looked up at the sky where Earth's gravitational field generators created a shimmer of distorted space that was visible even in daylight. "So we went from facing extinction to becoming the species that kills neutron stars when they annoy us." "That is a very accurate summary, Captain. The alien civilizations of the galaxy had to completely revise their understanding of humanity. Species that faced extinction were supposed to accept their fate gracefully. They were supposed to create art and record their history and die with dignity. They were not supposed to weaponize stellar physics and use gamma-ray bursts as ammunition to murder the cosmic phenomena that threatened them." Admiral Jake Morrison stood in his new office on the rebuilt Luna Station and read reports from deep space exploration missions. 47 other star systems had detected the gravitational anomalies created by Earth's defense system. Every spacefaring civilization in the local galactic region now knew that humans existed, and that they had capabilities that should not be possible. "Sir," reported Commander Lisa Hayes, "we are receiving diplomatic contact requests from 17 different alien civilizations. They all want to establish formal relations with Earth." "What kind of relations?" "The kind where they ask us very politely not to kill any more neutron stars unless absolutely necessary." Jake laughed as he approved the diplomatic meetings. 3 days of facing extinction had turned humanity from an unknown species into the galactic civilization that everyone wanted to stay on good terms with. President Helen Rodriguez addressed the United Earth Assembly in the new orbital headquarters that had been built to coordinate Earth's expanded role in galactic politics.